Oh, me? Yeah, I mean, I'm a little bit of an anime fan, just, oh, you noticed right, yeah, sorry. He's pretty underground. I don't know if you've heard of him before. He's actually called Goku. He's from an anime. It's a Japanese show. So yeah, pretty much a big anime fan though. I will say I'm more of like a level 5 anime fan. I haven't watched a huge amount of variety of anime, but like when I get in deep. I watched the whole of Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball. I'm up to date with One Piece. I've seen that whole thing. I've seen Mob Psycho 100. I started to watch Kingdom. It was pretty good. I like the story. Animation was terrible though. Today we're going to react to every single anime trope explained by the wonderful Ari Kendo that you should definitely subscribe to if you have not already, because they have a lot of anime related videos. Oh, look at all these. Look at these videos. I'm not going to react to them all, so go watch them yourself over on his channel. Today we're going to rank all the anime tropes. I'm going to give them a personal ranking myself, and you can in the comment section down below too while you're watching if you want to. It's up to you entirely.
Yelling out a special attack is something that we all did on the playground in elementary school, but it's also a pretty common trope in anime. It's usually found in battle shonen where characters have unique or special powers to fight each other with, and it's a very common trope in manga, mainly because when authors need to show off a power, it adds more impact on the page when the character says their
What? Hold on, I'm sorry. Supreme Ruler, Burning Heat, Thundering Dragon Roar, Erupting Flash, Demon Tempest, Rakan Fist. Sorry, I'd run out of breath by the time I even said it. I mean, this must be like a joke one, right?
attack. This ends up getting translated through to anime when an adaptation eventually happens. And as cheesy as it can be, there is a legitimate reason for it. In a lot of martial arts, you're taught to yell or exhale while doing a move to fully realize your intent to strike. There's also the Japanese idea of kotodama, which refers to the Japanese belief that mystical powers dwell in words and names. This plays a big role in Japanese martial arts like Aikido, which could explain why anime characters shout while attacking.
Okay, I didn't know that. Okay, so honestly, I like how we're starting off on a pretty good one. Yelling is one of my favorite anime tropes. I think it's great. Yelling out your attack, it sounds silly, and if you did it in real life, you'd sound silly. You're like, unbreakable flaming fist! And you just hit someone. Actually, wait, hold on. Maybe that would actually be kind of sick. One of my favorite, actually all of my favorite moments in anime come from someone just yelling while they're using an attack. You can't tell me that Son Goku would be cooler if he didn't say Kamehameha, or Gohan didn't do it, or Vegeta didn't say Final Flash, or if Kaiba didn't say White Lightning when Blue Eyes attacked, or any of those things. If All Might didn't say Plus Ultra when he was punching his fist. Coolest anime moments of all time. Easily. I'm going to say that yelling is a solid 9 out of 10 trope for me. I love it.
Training arc in anime refers to a story arc, usually before a big fight, where the main character and sometimes their group train to become stronger. This usually happens in battle shonen and can often lead to major awakenings in the main character. This trope goes beyond the genre though. DBZ has some great training arcs, but so does Haikyuu. However, training arcs are generally reserved for times when the main character are really underleveled or need to get more powerful for a specific reason.
It really is just a grinding montage from a Pokemon game.
Can vary wildly in how long they last. Sometimes they're just a single episode, and sometimes they'll last an entire season. It really
I think it's interesting that training arcs exist because you have to have some kind of way to bridge the gap between, oh my god, our protagonists are so weak compared to big guy, and now we have to, really put the effort in to make ourselves as strong as big guy. Some of my favorite training arcs, I mean, the ones in My Hero are okay. I'm trying to think of some training arcs now, like the ones in Dragon Ball specifically, like the hyperbolic time chamber from Dragon Ball. I think that's a good training arc, though I would say a lot of the stuff is skipped over pretty quickly because it can be quite boring. So it is just a way to bridge the gap, though it does build anticipation because your protagonists are so below where they need to be and they need to reach new heights. So that does bring it up slightly. I'd give it like a, I don't know, training arcs get like a 6 out of 10
depends
for
on
me.
the show. Moe is a slang Japanese term, and it's used in a lot of contexts, so it's hard to authoritatively define, but Japanese people generally agree that moe as a word refers to feelings of strong affection towards a specific character in anime. The word is technically derived from the Japanese verb moiru, meaning to sprout. I think this refers to a viewer's experience of sprouting affection for that character. Usually, moe is recognized in the anime community as, well, just cute girls, but don't misunderstand. It's not necessarily sexual in nature. While moe as a term used to be everywhere on the internet back in the 2010s, with anime like Lucky Star and K-On! Popularizing that trend, it has definitely lost popularity recently.
Yeah, no, I've never heard of this in my entire life. Moe, I guess just being cute girls, and the fact that people like cute girls or cute characters in general. I mean, I kind of like cute characters. Cute characters are cool. Karibo is a little guy. People like Pikachu too. Is that the same thing when you have affection towards something that you think is just really cute? I don't know. I give it like a 5 out of 10. I don't really feel any kind of way about it. Sure, average.
Tsunderes are a trope for an anime character that's initially cold, but eventually warms up and shows their soft side.
Oh my god, Lae'zel is a tsundere. Oh my god. If Baldur's Gate was an anime, Lae'zel would be this trope.
One of the first tsunderes who defined the character trope would be Lum from Urusei Yatsura, so this trope is actually 40 years old at this point. Tsunderes used to be about character progression, but sometimes modern tsunderes are just in a random state between absolutely loving the protagonist or hating them outright. Now, the actual translation of tsundere can be broken down into 2 main words. Sun, meaning aloof or off-putting, and Dere, meaning infatuation. And while we're here, I might as well explain the other popular Dere types. Yandere uses the Japanese word yamu, which means to be sick, and Dere. So basically this is someone
sick with love. Oh, so like they're freaks about it. They're like real weirdos about it. They get a little bit too much. What was that, like Toga from My Hero? I'm gonna make a lot of My Hero references because I just finished reading the manga. So it's like Toga. Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, like the crazy in love trope doesn't really work with me. It's a bit weird. Tsundere, when someone starts off and they're like kind of a dick to you and then they slowly warm up to you, I think I can dig that in some circumstances. But in a lot of circumstances, it is just used as like, I'm going to be a massive dick, and then all of a sudden, we're going to flip the switch, and now, oh my god, I love you. That's not really that good. That's not really well written. It really just comes down to how well the characters are written. Along with a lot of these tropes, it's just going to depend on how well the writers can handle the trope, right?
Who's sick for your love. And they are characterized by extreme actions, resorting to violence to get the relationship they want. But I can fix her, right? Kudere uses the English word cool, but it's in Romanji, so it
Oh, I didn't even know this.
turns into ku. I swear I'm not being racist, okay? This is the legit definition. Kuderes are people that normally seem emotionless, but will show their feelings around the person they like. Dere.
Okay, I mean, that's fine. Sure. That can be really cute in certain moments too. I think this whole Dere trope is maybe like a 7 because it really depends on the characters and depends on how they're written, and there's so many different variations. Tsundere is interesting sometimes, like a 7. Yandere is like a 4. Kudere is, I kind of like that, you know, I like a 7.5.
Basically means someone who doesn't hide their romantic feelings at all, so they generally come off as sweet and flirtatious. Yandere contracts the word danmari, meaning silence, and refers to a character that is normally silent or quiet but become more talkative around their love interest. Now,
Okay, I think this is good. That's a fine. That's a
there are
7 out of 10
technically
too.
more Deres to talk about, but that could be its own video.
44? That is
The
ridiculous.
confession trope refers
Oh, all right, here we
to a
go.
moment in most romantic anime where one of the characters confesses to another. Now, in America, we don't really say I love you, and it's normal to date for several months before you really say it. But from what I understand, Japan is pretty culturally different. It's actually normal to confess your love pretty early on, sometimes in front of the entire school. In fact, this has an entire word in Japanese dedicated to it, specifically kokuhaku, which literally just translates to confession. Now, confession scenes are usually great and end up being the climax of whatever romance anime they're in, but sometimes that confession can fail. Either this happens because a character rejects the other character, or even worse, the other character mishears the confession, causing
Oh, I hate this. This is the worst. Just someone mishearing something and it having to be a whole plot point about how they just simply misunderstood a word is so frustrating. I think it's just built to be frustrating because more could it possibly be? What kind of entertainment for the viewers? Like, oh, haha, they made this silly mistake. I'm thoroughly interested in how this will develop now. It's just dumb. It feels dumb to me. I don't like that.
a misunderstanding. Now, this is another common trope within a trope, and it's one of my least favorites.
Yeah, a comment like a misunderstanding that, oh, I misheard you, and now we're gonna have 7 episodes where I dislike you because I thought you said something else. It's really frustrating to watch and not very fun for anyone involved. The confession trope in general is a bit weird because like I'm a Western boy, I'm a British man, and I haven't confessed my feelings towards someone before I really knew how they felt about me, or I haven't really done anything like I feel like a confession is destined to fall flat on their face unless you already are basically already in a relationship and you have a very good idea of how they feel. If you confess your feelings to someone that is like an associate and maybe you work together with them, maybe you'll see them like once a week and they just kind of vaguely know you, what's gonna happen? They're gonna turn around and be like, oh my god, you're so cute and cool, I love you too, it's so great. I don't know, a different culture, I'm very Western. Confession seems very strange and out there to me. I don't know, a 5, sure.
Filler
5.
arcs refer to a story arc in an anime that isn't directly involved with the main plot. Now, this can be confusing for a lot of people who don't watch anime, but this usually happens because while the anime is airing, the manga that it's being adapted from doesn't have enough chapters to keep going, so they have to fill the screen time with something unrelated. This used to be a much bigger problem back in the day when a lot of anime came out on a weekly basis for years. Sometimes the ending to a story wouldn't be finished, so the animation studio would have to make their own ending. This happened with the original 2003 Fullmetal Alchemist.
I don't understand why they wouldn't just wait. It seems like a good idea, especially if you're good enough at planning ahead. You should be able to know when something is going to end. Also, if it has its own ending that's separate from the manga, why would the mangaka not just tell you what the ending is going to be, unless the mangaka doesn't even know yet? In which case, if the mangaka doesn't know yet and he's making the series, just wait. What are you doing? Why are you having someone else write the ending? That doesn't make any sense.
And in any case, most people view filler as negative, as a lot of the times they have nothing to do with the plot, but it's worth noting that there are interesting filler arcs. It just depends on the show and the specific arc.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest, I skipped most filler. I skipped almost all the filler in One Piece, and I like I said, I caught up to One Piece, but I skipped like an almost entirety of the filler. I think I watched One Piece, which specifically was created and curated so you didn't have to watch the filler, because my god, that series is so long. I mean, come on. Filler, for the most part, feels like a waste of time. I understand there are some good filler arcs that generally do stand on their own. Filler cannot impact the main story. It cannot have any impact, and by the end of the filler series or the filler arc, you must return to exactly where you were when you started it. So it can be like a fun little scroll through your TikTok For You page, but it can't actually have any effect. It's made so it cannot have an effect, which makes me dislike it because I don't like things that waste your time. So honestly, I don't like filler. It's a 3 out of 10. Maybe a 2 out of 10.
Overpowered main character is a common trope that has recently emerged, mainly due to power fantasies. Instead of the regular shonen progression of a character, where they get stronger and stronger after more battles, these main characters start off in the story insanely strong, not really having to break a sweat for most battles. Sora Online arguably made this trope as popular as it is today, and that's the reason we see it in a lot of isekai. Usually these characters will have black hair because they're supposed to be blank slates for Japanese high school students who can insert themselves into the main character. It is worth noting that sometimes overpowered main characters will still go through a progression arc, but oftentimes it ends up in the same exact scenario. They're going to be overpowered against everybody else. And personally, I'm not a huge fan of the overpowered main character because it removes the tension from fights, but a huge amount of people really enjoy seeing someone just coast through the story, which I think provides a form of escapism for some people.
I like it in 2 specific scenarios, and they're made by the same person. I like it in One Punch Man and Mob Psycho 100. One Punch Man because it's comedy. Like, it's supposed to be, the entire joke of the whole series is that Saitama is just too strong for everyone. And I think that's fun. Of course, you can overuse it. I feel like if every anime started to have a really overpowered main character, it would just get boring and lackluster. The reason why it's so interesting is because it's a deviation from the norm where the main character is supposed to struggle and become stronger. Whereas then you just have One Punch Man where he's like, oh yeah, I just one punch him. That's my thing. I just one punch him and it's great. And I'm like, oh, this is great because it has like really good animation and it's a very funny show. And Mob Psycho, the second one that I like, Mob Psycho, the second one that I like so much about it because there's so much character development that is based around the fact that he is so strong. People kind of bring attention to the fact that he is so powerful, but the fact that he is powerful is not the main basis of the show, and his power itself is not the main narrative device. His emotions and his personality is what causes his power to be released. I think it's really cool. I think it's a really interesting way to use a very powerful creature. I don't know. I love my Mob Psycho. Mob Psycho is one of my favorite shows ever. It's great.
Trope-kun is a trope wherein the main character gets hit by a moving truck. Now, if you don't watch anime, you might think that's weirdly specific, but trust me, it is very, very common. Usually this happens in Isekai Tensei, which translates to reincarnation to another world. For someone to get reincarnated, they obviously need to die. And since most isekai just copy what someone else already did, they end up using the truck to kill off their main character. It's such a common trope that Konosuba, the parody isekai, made a joke about a slow-moving truck killing the main character just from shock. But personally, I don't think it's any laughing matter. To this day, Truck-kun probably has the highest kill count in anime. Truly devastating KDA if you ask me.
Truck-kun has a higher KDA than the Rumbling. What is this? I don't even know. I don't really watch any isekai, so I'm gonna give that one like a 7 because it's kind of funny.
The characters not having dads is another common trope, and sometimes they just don't have any parents at all. This usually happens in shonen series, where we see their mom sometimes taking care of them, but there's no dad in sight. Usually there's not even an explanation to where the dad went, so I'm guessing they're all in the longest line to get some milk and cigs. Realistically, this is...
Yeah, I mean, there's no dad in Pokemon, no parents in Yu-Gi-Oh! Luffy has a dad, but I mean, he's pretty absent. Yeah, what is it with the no parents thing? You know, that's another thing I like about Mob Psycho is Mom has two loving parents, and they're nice to him. And I like that. That's great.
Probably just a plot convenience so that the main character has more freedom in the story to go on adventures. I don't really know when this trend exactly started, but even back in 1998, Togashi was writing Hunter x Hunter, where the plot point for Gon was just to find his dad. So clearly it's been going on for a while.
Well, I mean, this is the same for like games. Like, what's the main plot of Fallout? Is go find your dad.
The Yaoi
Sorry,
moment
Fallout 3. Fallout 3 specifically.
Trope that involves two male characters getting really intimate with each other out of the blue. Outside of boys love anime, this is usually played off as a gag and not taken seriously by other characters, and it usually ends up with both male characters getting embarrassed or mad. You'll just
Or because gay funny.
You see this trope in light-hearted romance or slice of life anime, and obviously in BL anime. Oftentimes the yaoi moment is about teasing a specific female audience named Fujoshi, which literally translates to rotten girl.
Rotten girl? Oh no.
Sometimes an anime will have yaoi moments or subtext throughout the show without committing to their full relationships, which I personally hate. Like, there's no way I'm doing this shit with my homies. Just make the characters gay at that point, come on. But I suspect that this is because gay relationships are still pretty taboo across the world, and especially in Japan. It's also worth noting that the opposite of a yaoi moment would be...
It is really unfortunate that same-sex marriage is still not legal in Japan. I mean, I feel like they wouldn't have a problem with it at this point, surely, right? Is it just the government's too slow to do anything about it? Is that what's going on?
Yuri moment, where two female characters get intimate out of nowhere, although this is a lot less common. The power of...
This is kind of annoying because if characters, again, it's all about the writing, right? It all comes down to the writing. If characters are all of a sudden like tonguing each other out of nowhere, and it doesn't make any sense, and it's just a fan service moment, then it's just silly. It's a waste of time, honestly. It's a bit of a waste of time. It doesn't really mean anything. I'm gonna give that I don't know, a 6 out of 10. I don't really know what to put that.
Friendship trope is the idea that the main character's friendships is what propels them to victory.
Okay, this is cringe most of the time. There are some times where it can be okay, but this is mostly cringe. The JJK one is kind of funny though.
This happens when the main character fails to defeat a big villain until he realizes that he has his friends. Sometimes it's more about teamwork and all the characters getting together and working to fight the main boss. Other times the main character literally just gets a stat boost from realizing he has friends. Kinda wish it worked that way in real life. Usually this trope is
Yeah, this happens in Yu-Gi-Oh! A lot.
Found in shonen anime, but you can also find it in a lot of different shows, namely sports.
Okay, it can be really funny, but it does get old very quickly when you're just in literally the power of friendship. I mean, come on, really? Come on. I don't know. I give it like a 6 out of 10.
Service is a trope in anime where a character is usually in a sexually appealing or compromising position. Basically, they are servicing us fans watching the show. It's also worth noting that fan service doesn't always have to be for men. It can also target women as well. Usually this happens in ecchi shows where the girls in the shows are getting sexualized, and back in the 2010s, panty shots used to be the go-to fan service shot, and it used to be a much more prevalent trope. Practically in every show you could find a moment of fan service, but recently it's definitely died down as anime reaches a much broader audience.
Yeah, no, I hate this. I straight up hate this. It's the worst trope. Like, I'm giving it a 1 out of 10. It's not even fan service. It's made up out of nowhere just to be a little pervert, be a little weirdo. Most anime have like very conventionally attractive individuals that you can just look at and be like, oh, that's an attractive individual. You don't need to go out of your way and be like, ooh, look at me bend over. Oh no, I fell over and all of my clothes fell off. Oh, this sucks. Like, it feels like it's not even a part of the story. It feels like fan fiction. It feels like someone tweeted that instead of it actually being a part of the canon of the show. Fire Force was ruined by this. Completely ruined. There's one character in Fire Force that literally just trips and all of her clothes come off. And they call it fan service? It's not fan service. I was a fan. I was enjoying it. I was watching the show. And then it got ruined? It's not just a fan disservice instead because you're ruining the show for me and now I kind of don't want to watch it anymore? How is it fan service if you're making it worse for everyone?
Skip trope.
Anyway, yeah, 1 out of 10. Don't like fan service. It's dumb.
Refers to a point in the story where many months or years pass for the characters that the audience never sees, or sometimes we'll see with flashbacks. Usually this ends up with the characters looking pretty different and can be a turning point for some stories. An example of a big time skip would be the original Naruto to Naruto Shippuden, which basically just marks two wholly different series and characters. Another one would be Gurren Lagann, which actually happens in the middle of its 27 episodes in the first season. Personally, time skips are one of my favorite tropes, as they usually shake up the story, making it fresh and more mature.
Yeah, I like time skips because it means you can have a grown-up cast of characters. It means that they can fully develop. It means that they can train and become stronger. It's like a super-duper training arc. I think that, in fact, maybe some series would benefit from more time skips. I feel like My Hero Academia should have had more time skips. Now the entire series is going to be like within 1 or 2 years, which is kind of ridiculous. I feel like One Piece should have more time skips. Like they had a 2-year time skip at one point, but for the most part, they have a few months of traveling together, 2-year time skip, and then like a month or 2 more of traveling together, and that's it? I feel like more time should have passed. All of these really cataclysmic events are just shoved into a very small period of time. Like the Dressrosa arc in One Piece is 1 day. It's like 100 episodes, and it's 1 day, which is ridiculous. They could have hung out for a little bit longer, or maybe the traveling should take longer. But no, time skips are great. I think that it's great. They use them a lot in Dragon Ball, which is fantastic because they show the characters growing and maturing, and even Gohan going from a baby to like a fully fledged adult by the end of the series. And I think that's great. And you know, it allows you to have more characters do more things. It allows you to have like kids that eventually grow up and do something. I think it's fantastic.
Flashback is probably
I give time skips like a 9 out of 10.
Anime's most iconic tropes, where a flashback happens to something that was already shown or to explain what's currently happening. Usually in Western media, we look down on flashbacks, but anime is pretty comfortable using them. Generally, flashbacks are more common in older shows, as when everything was being televised, missing an episode meant you might miss some important character development with no real way of catching up. So a flashback can be used in a hype moment to either remind the viewer of the past or catch up a new viewer who's just tuning in. In modern anime, flashbacks are usually used in bigger moments to build up the dramatic stakes of that scene.
Okay, so the flashback that he just showed, this one from One Piece, that is a really good one. That's a great flashback. For the most part, I feel like it's just more of a symptom of necessity more than an actual good part of the show. You're putting it in because, oh, a lot of people might not have seen it, rather than, oh, we're going to put this flashback in because it's like a good part of the show. It's just a pad runtime for the most part. And then you're like, oh, we got to 23 minutes? All right, cool. It was 2 minutes of flashbacks in this, so 10% of this episode was just reused content. And let me know. Listen, I know all about reusing content. This is a reaction channel, and I repost my videos all the time. But still, come on, you should do better than me. I'm a YouTuber. What's going on?
Slapstick humor is a trope that involves a person getting beaten up. And since anime is, well, animated, a lot of visual gags end up being impossible in real life. This kind of joke is really common in comedy anime, but is also common outside the genre as well, as a form of comedic relief. A common trope within this trope is smacking someone with a paper fan, known as a harisen, which if you think about it, is a literal slapstick, since the fan makes a ton of noise but doesn't really hurt. And that's all the tropes I had.
All right, that's kind of good. I like slapstick a lot. I really like how they change the animation style when someone gets like hit. Like you get hit really, really hard, and then it changes the animation style, and the guy's just like on the floor knocked out, but he's like a chibi version of himself. I mean, that's pretty good. I'll give Slapstick like a 7 out of 10. Those are my rankings. What do you think about anime tropes? You should subscribe to Ari Kendo right now. Links in the description. You can also subscribe here if you want to as well.